Welcome back, everyone. This is part 3 for this news report for today, for Wednesday, August 21st, 2013. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to cover some Haarp status news, also just basically everything, all kinds of different stuff. So far, the Haarp status for North America, current long-wave frequency magnitude readings are mostly in the west, the southwest, but it's impacting a large part of the country. This is from August 21st, so for today. It's high in California, Nevada, parts of Oregon, parts of New Mexico, it looks like, and Colorado. Then in Europe, it's mostly Western Europe, Spain, and France getting hit with low to medium frequencies. And you have here for Australia, still, this is 21st. Still, I guess I'm pretty sure that's New Zealand and southern parts of southern Australia, but New Zealand, that getting hit pretty hard for almost about a week or 2 weeks now. Japan to issue gravest Fukushima nuclear warning in 2 years, so it's escalated to its worst level since a massive earthquake and tsunami crippled the plant more than 2 years ago. So it goes on here, and it said on Wednesday, the IAEA said it viewed the situation seriously and was ready to help if called upon. They said here, while nearby China said it was shocked to hear contaminated water was still leaking from the plant and urged Japan to provide information in a timely and thorough and accurate way. Japan Nuclear Agency upgrades Fukushima alert level. They've upgraded the severity level of the radioactive water leak at the Fukushima plant from 1 to 3 on the international scale. So it says here the highly radioactive water was found to be leaking from a storage tank into the ground at the plant on Monday. Then you have west coast of North America to be hit hard by Fukushima radiation. They will concentrate in pockets in the Baja California and other west coast locations. An ocean current called the North Pacific Gyre is bringing Japanese radiation to the west coast of North America. Like coming soon to North America, radiation from Fukushima in Japan. So how does your elected Democratic government deal with it? Well, they actually just raise the levels of acceptable radiation levels. Obama approves raising permissible levels of nuclear radiation in drinking water. Civilian cancer deaths expected to skyrocket. So, and this is actually what they did in Canada. This is what the EPA did, a year or two ago. It's called the new normal. A scuba diver caught smuggling drugs into Marine City, Michigan. So this is, of course, all over the news. But what's not going to be mentioned is the person who ratted him out. Unbelievable. So it goes on here, and it says here that the St. Clair County Central Dispatch says here they received a citizen call notifying them of an individual swimming across the St. Clair River near Marine City, Michigan. So, a good citizen, right? So they were able to locate the individual in the river, and basically they stopped him. So all this for weed, right? And meanwhile, the freaking federal government's running guns to drug cartels and dealing drugs themselves. But hey, don't worry about some poor dude who's got a scuba dive across probably a pretty bad big river there, carrying some pot, dude. It's just unbelievable. Marijuana industry, or all the pharmaceutical companies peddling their dangerous drugs to children, actually using psychologists to force them to take that stuff. Marijuana industry eager to pay taxes and cash in on deductions. So this is what you hear a lot. Yeah, I don't know why they don't legalize it and tax the hell out of it. Well, of course, they'd use those tax dollars to what? To fund research and development for being able to enslave you even more. So I mean, it's kind of a flip side. That's why it says, well, no, you shouldn't have to pay high taxes on marijuana. You should be able to grow it yourself, But they get people, they're always 10 steps, 100 steps ahead of what the masses are willing to accept there, or allowed to have. So when they do get something, when they do get a privilege, it's going to be with complete restraint, with the ability to control it. 123-year-old Bolivian man says coca and quinoa and mushrooms gave him long life. So I've already covered this before. It says this diet is, of course, illegal in the United States. Talking about the indigenous farmer, the oldest person to ever have lived. And then made in the UK toddler's milk lacks required nutrition, says research. They've been criticized over the lack of nutrition information for toddler's milk, as new research shows the milk has less than recommended daily intake of calcium, over twice the amount of sugar compared to natural cow milk. Of course, natural cow milk, raw milk, is, again, illegal. I don't even think that includes the crap that they put in there as well. I think it was melamine or something like that in China. Fluoride. But there's all kinds of things here. Like one person says, formula is not produced to feed babies, it's produced to make money. We'll also poison them, carry out eugenics. There's some people that say, there's a bond that takes place, when that it's kind of a essential time. That's basically women are supposed to breastfeed their children. So it kind of destroys that bond again to destroy the family and stuff. Many of the artificial milks also trigger reactions like asthma and eczema in youngsters. So, California gets okay to force feed some hunger-striking inmates. So authorities won court approval on Monday to force feed prisoners on a hunger strike after officials voiced concerns that inmates may have been coerced into refusing food in a protest against the state's solitary confinement policies. So something doesn't sound right? It says here that they're going to force feed them even if they previously signed orders asking not to be resuscitated. This is what they've done in India. This is what they've done at Guantanamo Bay, right? So let's do it here. Save Detroit. We know those prisons are hellholes, man. Save Detroit, sell to Canada, land, art, giraffes, everything must go. So, and some people just blame Detroit for all of the problems and say, well, this is because you put too many eggs in one basket. And it's just like, dude, there's all kinds of towns across the U.S., that have a specific industry, and if that goes out, they're done. The whole town's done. And it's just like a lot of this can be blamed on what? Globalization. So, and greedy corporations and CEOs and companies and shareholders, in order to maintain their huge standard of living, are able to sell their workers down the river. Hey, they're American, right? They could still say Ford and Chevy and GM, we're an American car, built for America. Creditors file objections to Detroit's bankruptcy. Detroit filed for Chapter 9 bankruptcy protection in July. This is a part of agenda, too. You don't see the White House who, proposes and completely backs, like a lot of Congress, about the Federal Reserve and bailouts to big banks and stuff. They'll do all that, and they'll watch all that happen, but as far as helping out, say, Detroit and helping to get their manufacturing industry back up and running, so that we could actually build the engines here and train people to become engineers, to design them, and to hire people to have basically skills so that they can build these cars here and put people back to work. No, instead of that, they just rather put them on welfare and just let them rot, let the city rot. Like someone said in a comment board, it's like it's almost as if they're trying to kill whatever is left. They're trying to expand the debt or whatever to whatever they can. So whether for bailouts and stuff like that. But it goes on here and says Detroit considers unconstitutional stop and frisk. So now Detroit, a city plagued by increase of murders and shootings, is considering implementing the controversial police practice known as stop and frisk. So anyone that fits the description of suspects or people engage in suspicious activity. The cops already do this. This is what's so stupid. And they make it into a race issue, and it's like, dude, cops do that to anybody, man. They'll stop and frisk anybody and mess with you, especially if you're poor. That's what it's really aimed towards, dude. Abandoned dogs roam Detroit in packs as humans dwindle. As many 50,000 stray dogs roam the streets in the vacant homes that bankrupt Detroit, replacing residents, menacing humans who remain, and overwhelming the city's ability to find them homes or peaceful deaths. So, yeah. And I just watched a show yesterday. I just came across it by happenstance. Low Winter Sun with Mark Strong and Lenny James. Seems like pretty good. It's got your typical feminist BS propaganda, but seems pretty realistic. And one of the scenes actually have a thing about dogs, wild packs of dogs. So it's a reality up there. It's kind of spooky. The unfriendliest city in the world is Newark, New Jersey. So it says here Oakland, New Haven, Detroit, Atlantic City, which one voter calls a pale shadow of Las Vegas. The top unfriendliest non-U.S. cities were Islamabad, Pakistan, Angola, Kuwait, Togo, and Morocco, and Tangier. The positive ones were Charleston, South Carolina, named the friendliest, Galena, Illinois, Savannah, Georgia, Asheville, North Carolina, and Austin, Texas. Which was kind of cool. Like I mentioned this before, I was stationed in Beaufort, South Carolina, so when I went out on weekends, it was usually in Savannah, Georgia. I've been to Charleston and Hilton Head as well. Those places are kind of more catered towards the rich. It says here, a study says welfare pays more than work in 35 states. Looking for a good paying job, look no further. This is from the Daily Caller, and I think it's just a bunch of disinfo crap. No, really, stop looking. In 35 states, welfare benefits pay more than a minimum wage job, according to a study by Libertarian Cato Institute. In 13 states, welfare pays more than $15 per hour. So one of the best ways to climb out of poverty is taking a job, but as long as welfare provides a better standard of living than an entry-level job, recipients will continue to choose it over work. So this is a bunch of crap, because, and this is what libertarians like to put out there. I'm sorry if you're a libertarian, but there's other libertarians that support this idea, and you just have to be aware of it, which is these jobs aren't coming back, right? This is from the Council on Foreign Relations. These are the engineers, why the old jobs aren't coming back. So you're talking about people who are unemployed, who try to find a job, and they can't find a job because the jobs don't exist. And if they do come back, what? It says here, at this pace, U.S. won't get back to full employment until 2022. But like I said before, they're not going to have 100% employment. That's just not going to happen until, well, they get their Brave New World completely. And it's just robots mixed in with humans. New jobs disproportionately low pay or part-time. So if you do find a job, it's going to be low pay or part-time. It's like people said, the minimum wage, it hasn't kept up with inflation. You can't raise a family, barely maintain yourself, just by yourself with minimum wage. And they say, oh, well, you got to get an education. Well, go get an education so you can be in debt, and you can pay that too to the banks, along with your car payment, along with your mortgage payment, or your whatever. And you'll find out that what? Oh, yeah, see, now you're competing with Chinese and Indians. So it just depresses global wages. That's what it's all about. I like this website, but I don't agree with everything that they say. They always say that, they try to apply economic theories to the rigged economy and say, well, ultimately, this is going to lead to, runaway inflation. The economy is going to collapse. You better, stock up, stock up. Well, I don't agree with all that. If it does collapse, it's going to be done because the engineers allowed it to collapse. So then get a certain type of change of system for control, control system change. If this guy is what the future of America looks like, we are in big trouble. So they're talking about this guy who buys lobsters, a surfer, homeless surfer, and some people say this whole thing was a psyop. It's to blame people to feel bad about getting on welfare. I'm not saying that people don't exploit it and take advantage of it. They definitely do. But to make people feel bad about being unemployed, I can't stand that mentality. And you look at the word to employ. What does it mean? Well, it goes back to Middle English, Anglo-French, to entangle, to apply, to make use of. So they talk about use. That's why they say a useful eater, a useless eater, because you're not being used enough. That's why a lot of people, when they get into jobs, most people that go into the job market, they don't know what to do because what? Because there's nothing that they really want to do. They don't want to be used in a certain way. But the only jobs where you can find that you can make, quote, money so they can get by is a job where you'll be exploited. Or actually, where you'll exploit other people. Well, speaking of making use, Bank of America works intern to death. Literally, yeah, they love these interns, because it's cheap, free labor. So it says here he worked for 3 consecutive days, working overnight until 6 a.m. Nearly the end of his 7-week pre-graduate internship, Moritz Erdhart's body was found by his roommates. So chasing the American dream, right? We all work long hours, but the guys working regularly until 3 to 4 a.m. are those in investment banking. Say, you're only doing it for up to 10 weeks, so there's a general acceptance of putting up with it. I see many people wandering around blurry-eyed, drinking caffeine to get through it, but people don't complain because the potential rewards are so great, right? The rewards are what? Is the religion, money. They worship money. He says it. We're competing for some very well-paid jobs. So one country that isn't going to be employed as slaves to Jewish-run banks is Hungary. They're paying off their IMF loans early this summer, earlier than planned. This is GGN. Thank you.